Okay everybody, here we've got a brand new banjo from the Pisgah Banjo Company up there in Asheville, North Carolina, and so I've just been experimenting with some different heads on it. I've tried a fiber skin head on it, and I just tried a Remo Weather King head on it, I think it's called. Well, now I'm gonna mount up this goat hide and see how that does. Okay, so this is a real tricky process. And so I'm decided to save myself a little bit of money and do it myself. I've got this nice unbleached goat hide all the way from Jeff Menzies in Jamaica. And so the first thing you got to do, and this is there's lots of important tiny steps, and if you mess up any one of them, you wind up not getting it right. So, whew, this is tricky. This is maybe only the third or fourth time I've done this on one of these banjos. So the most important thing at this stage is you got your hide wet. I soaked this in a tub of water outside for probably about 20 minutes. That's all you need to do. And then when you take it out of there, you can shake it off vigorously and get all the excess moisture off of it, or you can lay it down on a towel, some piece of cloth, and roll it up inside that towel, and then unroll it, and it'll be just damp. Like this is how you want it, okay? So lay it on there and get it as best centered as you can. So you want even flap all the way around, because when you go to tugging it through your hoop and stuff, it's going to be very difficult if you have it uneven. And also, I'll say this is a 12-inch rim, and I'd say this banjo, this head, this poor goat that I'm about to put on here, this sucker is 18 inches across, so that's a good size. I'm not going to have any trouble, not very much trouble pulling it through. So the only thing that I do now is I make sure that the outside of what was this poor goat is on the outside of the banjo, because you see the inside doesn't look as nice to me. The inside is sort of the fleshy, meaty side where the muscle and fat was attached. This is the hair side. I like to have the hair side out when I do any kind of leather working like this. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need is your straining hoop. I'm sorry, your flesh hoop. This is the actual hoop that the flesh will wrap around. Your straining hoop is this heavy one that goes on top. Okay, so this is your flesh hoop. To achieve this, I just got an old, discarded, worn out plastic frosted head. I took an X-Acto knife and I cut out the head material, and then I sanded this down so it's nice and smooth. So now I'm taking the rounded bottom edge of this and putting that against the hide. And then all you're going to do now is just sort of get it on there so that's even all the way around. It's not popping up anywhere like that. Okay, so I've got it on here. It's relatively even. You don't really need to be worrying about pulling it too tight just yet. And check yourself one more time. It's even all the way around. This looks pretty good. Okay, next thing you're going to do is take this as your straining hoop. This is the heavier hoop. So lay this down, and I like to start first right at the neck. I'll also say, if you want to be extra careful, like if you're using an antique or something with maybe a more brittle fingerboard, I would remove the neck before doing this, but I'm just not doing it here because I know my fingerboard's not going to chip. I'm going to be real careful. But if you have an antique like ebony fingerboard, rosewood fingerboard, this would be at the point where you'll chip it. So, okay, here's what I'm going to do. This is the long process, one of the processes. So it's really important at this stage not to use your actual hooks that are going to be on the banjo permanently. What I did was I went to Balsam Banjo Works on the internet, and I ordered some of these extra long, what's called mounting hooks. These mounting hooks will allow you to go ahead and get it started way up here where your regular hook is not going to be able to reach, you see? Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get one of these puppies on there. I'll do, how about this one? Go ahead and get it started. Okay, got that one started. And as you do it, notice you want it tucked up. You see how I'm pulling it under so that you get just that. Nothing to it at this point. Okay, I'm going to get another hook started. Let's just say over here somewhere. Let's see. Let's try to keep it even if you can. Oh boy. Okay, here we go. Now hang on, y'all. This is where it gets a wild ride. Okay, got that one on. Let's get the rest of this tucked up in here. Okay, so here I go, getting this on here. Okay, there's 3 of them. You know, back in the day, I've seen old catalogs and stuff from the 1800s, I guess 1890s, early 1900s. They actually sold sets of these mounting hooks in catalogs, so it's not a new idea. I mean, if you're going to actually, you know, in a world where you're actually using these animal skins, you know, I will say if you use your actual hooks of the banjo that you're going to be using permanently on the banjo, you run a good chance of breaking hooks when you do this. So it's really best to have a dedicated set of mounting hooks like I've got here. I've only got 8 hooks. I mean, you'll notice this is like, I don't know, 24 bracket banjo or something. I've only got 8 mounting hooks. So, but I figured that'll be enough to get me started. And so the idea is you just want to get it started with the mounting hooks. And one critical thing you have to do here is, you know, eventually you're going to cut all this excess flappy material off. But before you do that, you got to make sure you've got the head pulled down far enough to where there'll be enough excess tail underneath the straining hoop, but not so far that when the hide dries that it'll split or break your hardware. So it's kind of tricky. It's not something that they're not going to teach in school, or, you know. The only way you can figure this out is by having these antique style banjos and mounting these damn heads on here. And so I'm just going to go ahead, and I've got one more to go. I'll get this sucker, let's see, something like this. This will be my last mounting hook, and then we'll get to see something different here. Okay, everybody, so we're back. I've got this right where I want it. I've got no wrinkles down here. I've got the straining hoop is down far enough and to where this flap comes up. You see how far my fingernail is there? Let me turn this around so I can see. So there's about that much, about half a thumbnail's worth coming up behind the straining hoop. And note the tension here, it's not too tight, so I still have some room once this dries to pull it down. And hopefully, if I've done everything right, then we'll get this part of the straining hoop down to the level of the fretboard and won't have any problems. So here's another moment of truth. Now I've got to take my razor knife and cut this flap. And so keep in mind, you need to do this neatly. You're going to cut in here all the way around. You need to do it neatly as possible, and you need to do it pretty close to the top of the banjo head, but you don't want to do it so close to where you nick that hide, because that's going to basically ruin your job. So, but you can just basically leave maybe no more than 1 millimeter above the hide, and also because this is still expanded and wet, it's going to shrink. So if you're 1 millimeter up, that's no big deal. So I'm going to come right here and make my cut really close, to the hide, to the top of the banjo head. Okay, I started making my cut, and at this stage what I like to do is very carefully, without cutting myself, so I got the flap started, then it's a lot easier if you're pulling and cutting at the same time. And I'm just doing it ever so neatly. Like I said, I'm trying not to go too close,
but not letting it ride up so high to where it'll be visible once the hide is mounted, because that is an indicator of a sloppy job. Which is okay. I mean, you see that a lot on old banjos, but I don't want mine to look like that. It's tricky business here. So I'm coming around. Look how neat this looks right here. I think my X-Acto knife's getting a little bit dull from cutting against metal. So it's important to do this, you know, while the hide is still a little bit wet. Because, you know, if you don't, it'll just never look good. I'm going to show you all detail right real quick, and hopefully you can see. It's about how close I'm cutting it. I wouldn't want it to look this sloppy once the job was done, but this is going to be hidden. So it doesn't really matter. Hell yeah, there's just no easy way to do this. That's why if you pay somebody else to do it, they'll charge you $70 or something. Because it is kind of a pain. Is it? It'll probably be alright. Tricky business with a camera. Right on you. Okay. Okay, and we're done. So you got this little flap that you can cut up and give to the dogs or something. Boom. So it's going to look pretty nice. You'll also notice the color. This is not the natural color of this goat hide. It was real splotchy and stuff. So I took it in some of my, you know, the black walnut dye that y'all know about. So I actually dyed this hide at the same time I was soaking it. I dyed it in some water that had a lot of black walnut ink poured into it that we made. And it should look nice and once it's all said and done, because this is a black walnut banjo. Okay everybody, hopefully the next time you see this I'll be playing it and I'll be happy with it.